Tilt plans to expand to several international markets this year. That's not an easy task, especially for a company that's quickly risen to a $400 million valuation. I sat down with the co-founders James and Khaled to learn a little bit more about their plans.
We launched in Canada last year, we launched in the UK, and we're going to be launching about 5 countries in the next 5 months. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll have its own challenges, and it's definitely new territory for us, but we've got some really, really smart operators helping us.
What are some of the things you learned from your expanding your operations in Canada that you think are going to be core to that as you start expanding internationally?
Jeff Bezos has this great quote of, you have to be stubborn and flexible. Stubborn about the long-term vision and flexible about the details and getting there. I think with international, it's very much the same. We're very stubborn about the long-term mission and vision of the company, but within each country, I think we'll learn very different nuances about different cultures.
And that's actually very important for us too, because of the diversity that we have, even between the founders. Like my background, I'm from Egypt, and it's very important for me thinking through Tilt as an international product from day one. The problem that Tilt solved is not a problem that is necessarily important for just the US, but it's a problem that goes way beyond that.
And I know that you guys are doing a ton in international expansion. How do you guys make sure that that culture kind of extends to new markets as you go in? Remote offices are hard, right? So
it boils down to people, just hiring the right personnel, people that follow the same core values, the same principles, the same they believe in the mission, they understand what we're doing and where we're going, the same way that James and I and the folks here at San Francisco do. It becomes super easy. We're all thinking about this, the same space, the same way.
I think one of the other things that's worth mentioning is when we were 5 people, at one point there was 5 of us in 5 different cities. So I think the distributed nature of our team, at least for us, for our company, it's kind of been baked in the DNA from the beginning. We've had remote folks since the very beginning. So
how did you guys both end up at Tilt and starting a crowdfunding company?
Yeah, the short version is I was building crowdfunding software in Cape Town, South Africa. My background's actually in development economics, and picked up web development in college and started to build out a site called develop.org. And within that site, this was 2009, 2010, so within that site, there was a feature where you could get your family and friends on board to help fund this, to help fund an objective together. And that little feature kind of made the whole application or site kind of fall in this camp of crowdfunding. And so I started to actually kind of look at that one feature, and in the back of my head I was like, holy hell, like this one little feature is this is going to be a decade defining phenomenon. I think from that experience I couldn't shake that insight or that thought of, whoa, this crowdfunding thing is going to be
And you guys
huge.
met?
This investor in Austin wanted to invest, but he said his investment thesis was that he wouldn't invest in solo founders. So he made it very clear if I wanted him to invest, I needed to bring on a co-founder. I totally knew that it was the right, prudent choice, because building these things is very, very hard. And ultimately, he was also the investor that put me in touch with Khaled, who was working at Rackspace at the time, and the parting words was like, grab a coffee with this guy. His name's Khaled. He's actually looking for his next thing, and he's who I would start my next company with.
Around that time, I'm just thinking about the social impact. Around that time was also the Egyptian revolution was happening, the first revolution happening on Facebook, and just seeing how technology could have a huge impact on people's lives, like quite literally. And then James pitching Tilt to me, or Crowd Tilt back then, I was like, all right, that's it. That's the one I'm gonna go.
And what's your background? How did you end up at Rackspace and before that?
So I was born and raised in Egypt, and I did my master's in Virginia Tech. And but before that, I started 2 separate businesses back in Egypt. And I've always wanted to start something that with a big impact on the world. And I realized after moving to the US, I realized really my dream is back to entrepreneurship. And that's what I really want to do. So after starting the PhD program, I decided to switch that and join a startup. I joined a startup called Webmail, got acquired by Rackspace. And so I stayed at Rackspace for a few years, and after that I decided to see what's the next thing.
When you look at the potential market for crowdfunding, as you were saying, it's kind of hitting that kind of an inflection point, right? how big is this, and also is this sort of like a winner take all or a winner take most, or is there room for others in the market, and where does Tilt fit into all of that?
Yeah, I think the market is going to be massive, like full stop. It's kind of a greenfield opportunity that if the economics make sense for an independent or for a first-time entrepreneur on something like Kickstarter or Tilt Open, our enterprise tool, then the economics are going to make sense for Nike, for Sony, for Lululemon, innovative brands that want to tap into the power of their community. I think it's only a matter of time before they realize the power of crowdfunding.
That's what's really exciting about it, is once Tilt becomes this mainstream, the thing that you just becomes a very seamless tool that you think about, that you start using whenever you think about pulling resources together. The use cases become unlimited, really. It's we always get surprised with a lot of different campaigns on our platform and use cases that we haven't even thought about, and that's what's exciting about providing a platform and providing a tool similar to Tilt to people. It just it unlocks human behavior, it unlocks ideas, and I get really excited about that.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the technical challenges as you expand to mobile devices?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is honestly the user experience. We're trying to take something that is typically done with 5-minute videos, 8 levels of rewards, 9 paragraphs on something like Kickstarter or conventional crowdfunding platforms, and put it on a mobile device where you're doing it on the bus to work, where you are contributing to a campaign very quickly. And I think that requires us to rethink the entire user experience for conventional crowdfunding platforms or conventional crowdfunding products.
Yeah, I think one of the most important decisions I had to make early on building the product is think about it as a platform and think about building the API at which now I can build all these different clients using our APIs and different user experiences for different use cases. And mobile is just one of those clients. It would have been a much difficult problem to solve had we not thought about the space as a platform from day one. But because of that, now it becomes a matter of UX. It becomes a matter of what is the right interactions that we would like to see on mobile, as opposed to how do we actually scale the technology, because our technology was designed from day one for that use case.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.